coming to you live. It's your brother D. What you see in front of you is a kerosene heater, man. It's cold out here. Y'all stay warm. God is keeping me warm and warm. Got this kerosene heater, man. But look, the reason why I wanted to come on here, because I want to start making more videos. I want to start getting more information out. And we're going to kick it off with this. I'm going to talk about this one topic for a hot second, because it's going to be a gateway to understanding. I believe that's my hope. So we're going to talk about death, because it's something nobody wants to talk about, right? But I want to give you a different perspective on death. And I'm not talking about death itself, but death is something, if we are living, we haven't experienced yet, but we know that it's going to come. And I need y'all to understand me, overstand me, and understand when I'm telling this to you, so that you can get why I'm talking about death, the real reason why I'm talking about death. Listen, there is an experience that will happen in our lives for a guaranteed fact that none of us have experienced yet. And this experience is called death. I use death because death is a good analogy of an experience that we all will have, regardless if we believe it or not. We all will have this experience eventually. Brothers and sisters, it is my appeal to you, to your consciousness, and to your thinking minds, that perhaps there are other experiences that we will experience that we have not experienced yet. I want you to think on that. That there are things that we will experience, whether we believe it or not, eventually. Now we talk about death. Let's talk about it. There are two forms of death, because there are two forms of you. The first form of you was formed out of the dust of the ground. The second form of you was breathed through your nostrils, the breath of life, that you could become a living soul. So, the first death, which was the death that God promised would happen if Adam and Eve ate from that tree, was a spiritual death. Meaning the connection, the communion, the fellowship, the bond that we shared with God through His Spirit was cut off, because man introduced into his soul, into his being, a sinful nature that is opposite and opposes who God is in His character. Therefore, because water cannot mix with oil, because night and day cannot be together, because light and darkness cannot exist in the same plane, in the same room, God had to separate Himself from us. And whenever we experience the separation of God, we experience death. And so God withdrew His Spirit from man, and man died a spiritual death. And as a result, his eyes were open, and he seen his shame, he seen his sin, he seen his guilt. But I
appeal to your conscious thinking minds that there will be an experience that we all will have that has not happened yet. We're talking about death. We talked about how the first one was a spiritual one and how the second one is a physical one. That body that he formed out of the dust of the ground will return back to the ground. We will return back to dust, and the spirit that God gave us that animated our bodies will return back to him who gave it. Therefore, you will never speak to the dead. You will never be visited by your loved ones, because their spirit has been returned back to God and their body has returned back to the earth from whence it was formed. They are no longer here. There is no plane that you can tap into where they are in limbo. They are back to who gave them life. And there's no way to access them. And so now, here we are, for dead spirit and a living body. But Jesus died too. Oh yes. Jesus died. When Jesus died, because he was perfect, because he never sinned, God's righteous almighty law did not apply to him. For the wages of sin is death. And he died the first death, but he was resurrected. And it is my appeal to you that all who believe in the name of Jesus the Christ, Yahweh, Yeshua the King, the God of Israel, that you will experience something that we haven't yet to experience. And that is resurrection. Resurrection from the dead. Brothers and sisters, I pray that our minds can wrap around the gravity and significance of this message, to know that death is truly just the beginning.